Now that I'm aware of the black screen issue, which I tried several tests and I couldn't figure out how to fix it, I thought it had something to do with full screen versus borderless window, but that made no difference. Whatever the case, I'm just gonna sit here and do nothing for a couple of seconds as I speak. I think it should have passed by now. I did a lot of farming. A mimic dropped a dual hook. It's a decent hook. It can hold on to one surface while firing towards another. But I don't really care for it. I also don't care for the hook of dissonance. So I'm going to use the tendon hook, which is this thing. It's pretty quick. And it can latch on to 3 at a time. So that'll probably be my hook for the rest of the playthrough. I killed the Dread Nautilus. And I got a Sanguine Staff. But I have no idea. Yes, it does 65 summon damage compared to the 9 of the Blade Staff, but this is what it looks like. I just had to lock in, I think. And I was running away from the ads instead of trying to kill them, which is probably a good idea, because if you're anywhere near them, it's extremely difficult to dodge their projectiles. So I definitely learned how to fight the Astronautilus. Not the Astronautilus, the Dread Nautilus, damn it. I was hoping not to make that mistake. Whatever, it's funny. Someone put the Astronautilus in Terraria. I would love that. Anyway, I fished for a bunch of variegated lardfish. I think that's how you say that. Underground jungle. I found a safe spot. The first enemy in the underground jungle that hit me for like 300 damage. So I needed to just find a safe place to fish without getting harassed. I filled the only choke point with my spider sentries and everything was fine. I could also farm for prismite, which is fished up in the Hallow, but it's really goddamn rare. And I think my only Hallow options for fishing... Maybe I could come up with something here actually, but I couldn't be bothered. My only Hallow option for fishing at the moment is here. Well, maybe here as well. I could do it, I just got sick of fishing. That's basically it. I will use the Sanguine Bats for a little bit. I think their damage is really good. They're extremely accurate. They're never gonna miss or anything. I also farmed up for the rest of these and a Feral Claws. Feral Claws is something I could have gotten from jungle chests, but exploring the rest of the jungle now is hazardous to my health, so I just fished up jungle crates called bramble crates, and eventually one of them gave me this. And if I look through... Come on, where the hell is the thing? Don't be blind. Don't be blind. You were blind before. I think I'm not standing close enough to the Tinkerer's workshop. There we are. The Power Glove. It's so bad. And then, Power Glove plus Flesh Knuckles, Berserker's Glove. Melee speed applies to whip speed. And so does the auto swing, so does the size, and enemies are more likely to target you. That's for multiplayer. There's an aggro stat that determines which player the enemies will focus on, but I think it's pretty much irrelevant here. I'm ditching the Squire's Shield, because this is pretty damn good. I also lowered my sound volume a bit. Hopefully that's better. Because now that I have this, and I'm possibly going to use the Blade Staff as well, it's going to get very noisy. Oh, and from all that farming, let me just finish crafting my accessories before I start warping around. I'm very distracted. So, vitamins from the floaty gross enemies in the Underground Crimson, plus Armor polish. Armor bracing. The pixies, other than the clock, they can also drop the megaphone. Because I think they both slow and silence you. So those two together, with the Nazar and the megaphone. Counter curse mantra, and I forget where I got the Nazar from. It was either on camera or when I went back to the dungeon, a curse skull dropped it. It makes you immune to curse, so that makes sense. I farmed Medusas for the pocket mirror, and you can see the huge range of those sanguine bats. I quite like that. Yep, the pocket mirror and the blindfold, reflective shades. And all 5 of these, which are actually 10 different accessories total, the Ankh charm, which grants you immunity to all of those debuffs. And together with the obsidian shield is the Ankh shield, which has 2 more defense and all of the status immunities. And now, finally, I'm gonna modify these. Well, speaking of modification, when I was using the blade staff, I realized that the additional 25 points of ignoring armor, defense, what am I saying? It already ignores 25, so another 25 from the modifier that the game considers the best is 50. I noticed no difference, and I realized that this modifier exists, which gives you +5 tag damage, which is more than 50% more damage compared to the base damage of the blades. So they're hitting for like 20 with the whip. Yeah, 6 tag damage and 5. I also forgot to modify my whip. That wasn't helping anything. Legendary is the best modifier for a whip, I think. How much is this going to cost? Oh, that's relatively cheap. Lucky. Nope. Warding. Done. And the Berserker Glove. It's much more expensive, but that's fine. Wild. Rash. Quick. I'm just gonna use up my gold. Nope. Nope. Nuh-uh. Damn it. Well, I'll need more gold later. Just know that I'll be doing that. Possibly off camera. I don't think I showed the buff from the lardfish. Here it is. +1 max minions for 8 minutes. Or 10 because I have this thing. Did I ever mention that this thing is... The alchemy flask is specifically... At the end of an area, it's the thing that refreshes your Estus flask charges and dead cells. That's basically what they are. They're not called that, but they're literally that. What do I do with the Squire shield? Well, I can just put it in here. Yeah. I do eventually want to do the rest of this event. No, not another freaking blood moon. Whatever, I'll just fight a boss, I don't even care. While I was farming, a bunch of boss summoning items dropped, and I think I need to start with the twins. Again, yeah, take 2 of the twins. I'll still use gravitation. I'll use a flask of poison. I forget if it works on them, but I think it's the best flask buff considering that I'm using an offhand golden shower. Nothing else really matters. Okay, here we go again. Oh, and I have leftover duration from one of the golden delights. It was useful for... I think it gave me a little bit of an edge. Something you haven't seen, clowns can one-shot you. I got hit for 450 damage. I did not appreciate that. Wasted a lot of my buffs at the time. Okay, here goes nothing. Oh, I could just hold down the mouse button. That's so great. Yeah, I don't know how this summon compares to the blade staff. That's the problem. I was fighting different enemies, and I think they were kind of close. One thing that's for sure is if you're using an offhand weapon, you definitely want, like a non-summon weapon, I mean. You probably want the bats, because I think the tag damage is too big of a deal with the blade staff. Uh-oh. Please stop blasting me. I still want to focus down Spasmatism, even though Retinizer is also awful. But Retinizer doesn't do that. A Wyvern? No. Not now, damn you. Okay, that was good. Managed to avoid the flamethrower at least. Please kill the Wyvern. It's kind of amazing. Nope. I saw that coming. Ah. Oh well. Getting a little burnt is not too bad. Oh, I forgot. There's a little bit of a disadvantage there. Yeah, dashing away after Spasmatism's last dash is the way to go. If that star hit him, that would have been amazing. Okay, he's almost down. Alright, now it's just you. Oh, this is so much easier after I min-maxed a bunch of shit. Including my stats. That's kind of the reason I lost, honestly. Same thing with the Nautilus. If I was just a little more optimized, I probably wouldn't have failed. And this is phase 2 of Retinizer. It really machine guns you. It's not very fun. Although it has a certain behavior where you sort of learn the way it moves when it rapid fires, and you can move up to avoid it like that, yeah. It gets more rapid the less life it has, and there we go. Oh, do I go for 2? No. No, I don't think I can manage 2 bosses in one night. The twins. Huzzah. I might need more deathweed. I made more battle potions for all the farming. There's the mechanical wheel piece. This is an expert mode item. Gonna need to combine it with other items from the mechanical bosses. I got Souls of Sight and Hallowed Bars. Hallowed Bars are essentially the next step in progression. I guess I can leave my gravitation potions in there for now. I need to board up these doors. Okay, guide, what can I make? Souls of Sight. A bunch of stuff. This pickaxe axe is something I'm gonna need for the next tier of ore after the mechanical bosses. And I have a summon weapon, which is actually pretty cool. And I should probably give it a shot. Oh, you only need 1 black lens? Why did I think you needed 2? So if you have 3 black lenses, you can make the sunglasses and this, I guess. I might as well do the optic staff, yeah. I don't remember the clown having this laughter. It's a little annoying. Wow, another summon item. The game really wants you to progress past the mechanical bosses at this point. Optic staff. Worthy optic staff, that seems good. I think in terms of how many, how accurate I mean the summons are, the blades and the bats are better, but these things, each summon slot is actually 2 summons. And yeah, you have the retinizers that shoot lasers and the spasmatisms, which repeatedly charge enemies. I can actually skip to the next night and fight the next mechanical boss at this point. And I think I will. At this point, the forbidden armor is forfeit. I don't think I need it. It would have been nice, but I would have had to think of a decent... How did they kill him? I specifically... Oh, wraiths. Yeah, that makes sense. Wraiths do spawn naturally at night, I'm pretty sure. So anyway, I'll need those later. Hallowed bars can go in here. It's funny, I went to all that effort. The thing is, you can get stuck having to fight the mechanical bosses if you're not prepared enough, so getting this staff was definitely good. I might still mess with the blade staff. I do really like the thing. I think I should just skip to the next night, honestly. Might even be able to take advantage of the same buffs. Why am I forgetting already? I think I could beat the Destroyer pretty easily now. And it's a good thing I have Heart Reach potions because... Yeah, I do. My supplies haven't run out just yet. Because the Destroyer is, I guess you could say, weak to Heart Reach potions, in a sense. It's a big ol' worm. Fun fact, the Destroyer used to spawn all bunched up in one spot, and you could use an infinite piercing weapon to just melt it before the fight even started. So now it emerges one segment at a time from like this red portal, so that you can't do that. I don't remember if the Destroyer... Okay, I might be underestimating the Destroyer. Yeah, this is... Damn it. I could have sworn I would be... Ah, there's the Soul of Flight up there. From that wyvern that ambushed me. Did my buffs run out, or... Well, I only had one of those. I guess I could at least try the last mechanical boss. I'm trying to think. Yeah, the whole point of the optic staff was that it's good at AoE. It was dealing at least some damage. Something tells me that the Destroyer has a lot of life to compensate for how vulnerable it is to piercing. Oh, yeah, quick stack will do that, you fool. I have all of those. Should probably use the remainder of my buffs. I will try Skeletron Prime as well. The only question is, why am I hesitating right now? It's because I was thinking about the blade staff. Skeletron Prime is really fast. The bats could also work, but I'll try the blade staff for now. In fact, no idea if it's gonna work out the way I want it to. first I buff, then I max out on summons because of the summoning buff. Okay. It's Skeletron, but with 4 arms, and each arm has a different weapon. And they're all kind of annoying. And he's ridiculously fast for some reason. It's mostly the laser that I want to take out. Hopefully there'll be enough time left in this night. Oh god. Since I beat the... Damn it. Since I beat the twins, I could just farm them for hallowed bars. So I can get the armor, because the armor is pretty good. And I think it has a summoner helmet. Damn it. Okay, yeah. Maybe the twins are the easiest. Though before I was getting bodied by the laser. The speed at which Skeletron Prime moves when he spins his head is... I think specifically because of Master Mode. Maybe the Blade Staff is questionable. I could try again. I'm burning through buffs, but... what the hell? I'm sort of unsure which of these is best. So why not just try all of them? So, using the cake is a good idea. Here goes nothing, take 2. Instantly got me with that. I really dislike the prime laser. It's the worst. The other arms are also bad. Like they just swipe across you so damn fast. At least the laser does little to no damage on contact. I do appreciate that. The cannon used to be one of the most ineffectual attacks in the whole game, but I think they buffed it at some point so that it blows up more. Oh no. Ah. I think I'm about as fast as I could possibly be, and yet it doesn't feel like it matters. It's worth reiterating, do not play Master Mode. Seriously, don't. I know everything, I'm trying to optimize everything, and it still feels like crap, honestly. Was there any other whip? I already have the thing from the werewolves. I don't care that it's a full moon. Yeah, either way, it's just so ridiculous. And I have max warding gear with, well, almost max. I could have 4 more defense. But considering how hard you get hit, I don't even know if it makes much of a difference. I could have placed heart lanterns and... Okay. If I'm gonna fight them on this platform, I might as well do that. because that is something I genuinely forgot about. So now I have a pretty large range of extra defense and regen. There's a campfire there. But there could be one more over here. What else? What else? I could just say fuck it and farm the twins. Kind of feel like it. And with that armor set, like the armor set from the Hallowed bars is really good and really important for a specific thing I want to do later. A really cool thing. Oh, really? My own death griefed my farm. I have plenty of seeds, at least. My only wonder is... I'm getting... My brain is locking up again. Since you didn't see it on camera, you might notice more gravestones, because it did take me a few attempts, but I do genuinely like the Dread Nautilus's enemy design. I think it's a step up from the usual fare. Like it having an attack where it charges towards you and then spins around you and doesn't try to run into you, although when it initially flies at you, it might be targeting, say, the opposite side of you, so it'll move through you and hit you. That's the only thing that annoys me. I wish it would deliberately target whatever part of the orbit is between you and it. That way it won't run into you when it's not supposed to. At least if I understand the intent of the enemy design correctly. But it is neat, and I do like it, and it's a blood bullet pattern that was genuinely my bad. I think it's best to macro dodge it. To be very close and to just move around the entire spread of bullets. So you don't have to dodge in between any of them. So yeah. Well, I did use the moon dial. So it's on cooldown. I don't know if it's actually a week. It seemed like the cooldowns refreshed way faster. Or maybe my farming took way longer than I thought it did. That's also a possibility. I would love to see a sandstorm here. That would be a great way to progress this. Now I feel like there really isn't much for me to do other than wait for night. Although I guess I could just fish until then, because a buff could totally help me. What the hell, I'll fight the twins. It's boring, but I'll fight them a couple more times. You can actually craft the summoning items, and maybe I could have done that. But the destroyer namesaked me. Didn't exactly want to do that again. Yeah, this is why iron bars are useful, because without them you'd be relying on random drops to get these. Is 2 enough? I would want to craft the others, so I think it's gonna have to be enough. How much gold is left in here? Maybe enough to try and get a better modifier on this thing. Nope. speaking of fishing, in the process, I got a tackle box, which makes me want to reference that game I played. I guess I already did. I got the angler pants, so now I have the decreased spawn rate and the maximum fishing bonus. What do you want? A wyvern tail. I don't recall if I've... Oh, right. If I've actually shown a fishing quest properly on camera. Alright, swapping sets limits my max minions. That's a little annoying. I was wrong about the Hallow spreading over the Crimson or Corruption. They're pretty much in a stable equilibrium. I think there's only one NPC who hasn't moved in, so later when I have an easier way of purifying this, I think this is enough housing for everyone, which is great. Unless I'm forgetting somebody. I don't think I am. I might have to build one or two more houses, actually. Anyway. I also switched to the master bait because it has more fishing power than the enchanted night crawlers, and from all the crates I opened I had 50 something of it, but I farmed so much that now it's just 32. And to think all of this off-camera work is still not enough for this to be, I'm not gonna say easy, but at least more reasonable. But yeah, you get the quest item, you talk to him, you hand it in. Oh wow, I didn't think I was that close to that one. I believe that's 200 angler quests. I got some crate potions and bait. There is a better fishing pole, which is 50% power. So I guess I'm looking forward to getting that. Okay, I'll farm just a little bit, because there's one more buff I could use. And I think this is the best spot to get it. And I left my fishing potions like an idiot. I don't know how many of them are left, though. I guess a sonar is good enough. There's one very specific material I didn't grab any of. I don't think it's crispy honey blocks, so you need to combine lava and honey, and that's how you can actually craft fishing potions. And I'm curious about something. This is a shot in the dark, but this is the fish that makes the critical hit potion. Could I? Nope. Wishful thinking. At least I can showcase something. I was wondering if you can convert those into the other fish. If you fall into Shimmer, you go insubstantial until you reach air. It's kind of funny. So hemopiranhas are actually just completely useless. That's great. Well, okay, sonar potion it is. If I just move back and forth down here, these will benefit me. Theoretically, building giant platforms across the entire world in a grid with these buff stations always there, so that you always have permanent uptime on all of them, is optimal. It's also mind-numbingly boring to set up, so I won't. Oh wait, I need to move over here to get the Hallow. Is this good enough? Yes, it is. Drink the sonar potion, toss the chum buckets, and I think this is pretty much optimal. So, I had mentioned Slay the Spire, right? I think it's good enough for me to just talk about that now. I can't help but think that Slay the Spire is not that much more interesting than something like Dominion, which, if you don't know, is a tabletop deck building game. There's basically a shop of cards. Everyone starts with the same basic deck. It's multiplayer, so that's a difference. And essentially, I think there was stuff like card draw, various effects, but there were also cards that give you points, and you basically want to get the highest scoring hand at the end of the game. I think that's how Dominion worked. And the reason I compare Slay the Spire to Dominion is because it's essentially just basic deck building strategy. Slay the Spire just has a lot of stuff in it, and that might trick you into thinking it's much more complicated. But really, everything you're doing is dealing damage to enemies or preventing incoming damage. Any effect that doesn't fall into one of those two just makes your deck better so that you can do the other two things better. More consistently. So I just kind of got bored of the original Slay the Spire after a while. Even high ascension and high level play is just pure optimization. Which is why I brought up the idea that if enemies had more unique effects that you could interact with, I would find Ascensions much more interesting. And those are kind of my hopes for Slay the Spire 2. It's one of those things where, aside from just having more stuff, like I think there are 5 playable characters right now. Or if they're not all playable just yet, they will be, if I understand correctly. I believe the Watcher is gone, and there are 2 new characters, so that would make sense. But other than just having more stuff than the first game, I don't see them making it fundamentally better or more interesting, because the first Slay the Spire was so ridiculously successful. I think it's just that since it's a computer game and everything is automated and it's heavily randomized, it has that addictive nature. You can just put a ton of hours into it. I've been putting more and more hours into it, even though I find it unremarkable from a design standpoint. So I don't know if my criticisms really mean much. Actually, here's a big criticism of Slay the Spire, and I actually have a direct comparison to make with a tabletop deck builder that has some similarities. It's not Dominion, it's another one. I really don't like block as a mechanic in Slay the Spire. You must run block or you will die, right? But block just makes draw RNG so much worse. Oh, that's kind of interesting. I don't think I've gotten that painting before. Like, I think there's so many marginal situations, especially at high ascension, where if you get screwed and you draw all of your block when it's useless, and then you draw no block when you absolutely need it, you just kind of die in situations like that, or at least you're so low on life that you're then forced to go to camps just to heal yourself, if that's even possible. And I don't know. The game I'm gonna compare to, Aeon's End, it's not quite the same thing as Slay the Spire. There are a lot of differences, like you don't shuffle your deck. That's a big one. I'd say that's the defining feature of Aeon's End. When you buy a card and add it to your deck, it essentially... Oh. That's good. This is a much faster horizontal mount. I might make use of that. But when you buy a card in Aeon's End, it's just added to your rotation of cards. Every unique playable character starts with a specific starting hand and a specifically arranged starting deck. They have one entirely unique card, and then they have the equivalent of strikes and defends, except instead of defends, you just have currency cards that let you buy other cards, and it's not really currency, it's effectively currency for the card shop, but it's also a resource that you can spend for your character's ultimate ability to pay effects of the enemy, because Aeon's End is a cooperative boss battling deck builder. It's essentially 2 to 4 players versus a boss called the Nemesis. And the Nemesis has its own deck of unique abilities. And the deck is kind of cool. You essentially shuffle 3 separate decks and then you stack them with the deck that has the least threatening cards on top. So as the game progresses, the Nemesis essentially ramps up. It enters phase 2 and phase 3, where it has much more dangerous effects and minions. But here's the cool thing about those effects. You don't need to go out of your way to pick something like block that serves only the purpose of preventing incoming damage. I just realized I should stop fishing. Your resource cards... I'll think of where to put that painting later. Your resource cards can pay to counter a lot of the effects of... Oh yeah, the mechanical eyes are on me. I feel a bit silly about that. I'll put the fuzzy carrot away. I'm getting very distracted with micromanaging nonsense. I'll just kill these guys again. Oh yeah, at night you can just find enchanted night crawlers. So you don't have to turn worms into them with stars. You can just catch them at the appropriate time. Yeah, I always found that to be so much better, because not only is draw RNG not a big thing in, well, it's not a thing at all in Aeon's End, but I'm kind of focusing here, actually, although it hasn't gotten bad enough yet for me to have to focus. Aeon's End can have cards that require specific combos, where if you don't play, for instance, 2 of the same card together, it's crap. The kind of thing that would drive me crazy in Slay the Spire. But in Aeon's End, you just put the cards next to each other in the rotation, and you're pretty much guaranteed to get the combo off, which is really cool. Part of the reason that game is so good. Yeah, it's really nice that you, instead of hoping that you draw block, you just have resource cards because they're good in general, and you decide how much of the resource to spend on defending against a really dangerous ability from the boss, versus how much of it do you spend on making your deck better and charging up your ultimate ability and such. I just think it's neat, and I don't hear people talk about board games much. And I wonder if I'm unimpressed by Slay the Spire specifically because I'm familiar with board games. It's like, oh, a deck builder. Nothing new under the sun. Although apparently computer game players are enthralled by deck building as a concept. Maybe people just like gambling. I'm almost certain that's the gist of it. I don't know if these will help, but I'll throw them down. Uh-oh, okay. I'm fine, I'm fine. It's all good. Although I think I might not have summoned all my bats. I would take a bite of the cake, but I think it's too dangerous. I miscounted the number of dashes, but it still worked out. Damn. I do think I have the best potions. You can't handle my best potions. I just got reminded of that. I don't think the next healing potion upgrade is until after all of the mechanical bosses. Uh-oh. How the hell did I avoid that? Oh, I was also in such a rush to start this fight that I didn't even use the buff that I fished for. It's the life force potion that increases your max life. You can have 480 max life instead of 400. Oh, it ran out. Yeah, at that range, I'm pretty sure the laser is unavoidable. Which, considering the boss tracks you and moves towards you, is kind of ridiculous. Like, the best strategy, I guess you could say, is to just have high enough stats that you don't have to worry about it. Oh, that was close. That was way too close. I don't think there's enough time left in this night now, unfortunately. I have 2 wheel pieces. I guess I'll sell one. I could try to reroll the modifier on those again. Stash the fish in the bait. Near the end of this playthrough, I'll show you just how much fish is in that chest. Once I started using sonar potions, the amount of fish I added in there went down significantly, but still. Did I have 4 the entire time? Oh well. 42 hallowed bars. How much more? Range damage, max mana, max number of minions. Oh, and the helmets have different set bonuses. Wait, they did that just so the Hallowed Hood can give you 2 more minion slots. I see. Yeah, become immune after striking an enemy. It gives you a buff that dodges the next attack, guaranteed. That's how it works, I'm pretty sure, unless they changed it. Maybe it does work the same way, and it's just weird phrasing here. Damage, move speed, crit chance, which doesn't matter, but at least there's high defense on it. I really need to think hard about how I'm gonna deal with the destroyer. I'm pretty sure this is the best whip I can have at this point. Oh, wait. I forgot about the Durandal. I just don't know if it's better when hitting multiple targets or not. It has more tag damage, but I'm not exactly sure that the blade staff is going to be that good. Well, oh yeah, I didn't check the amounts. 18. That's 30. 54. And 66. I could have 66 after one more kill. Or it might take 2 more kills. In any case, I think I should do that off camera. And yeah, it's lame, but I honestly hate how overtuned the bosses are in this difficulty. I think by the time I'm done with this, I'm never playing Master Mode again. This is just on the record to show I know how to do it. I can do it. But it fucking sucks. And this difficulty sucks. And I will show you. Once I play that mod that I'm thinking of, which I'm also waiting on an update for, by the way. Apparently a lot of things are going to get rebalanced there. It'll really shed light on how fucking god-awful Master Mode is by comparison. It's night and day. I believe there was Fargo, I forget what it was. I think it's Fargo and his friend who make the mod. Maybe it's a bigger team at this point, but in any case, Fargo's mod is the mod in question. It's supposed to be like a bunch of utility things for people who have played the game for far too long, and a lot of those are nice and convenient. But there's also a mod that adds a ton of accessories and bosses and a new difficulty to the game, and that's what you really ought to care about. And other than that, there are a bunch of miscellaneous mods by the same developer. Some of which are kind of fun, like a randomizer that gives enemies extra... Like, every enemy that spawns has a bunch of traits. Some silly, fun mods besides that, but there's one mod that I think Fargo released after Master Mode was added to the game. Or maybe slightly before it was added to the game. And I believe the mod literally just triples enemy life and damage. And even the mod description says, that's it. That's all. So, I think there's an implication if we worked so damn hard on our difficulty and the official developers get away with this shit. But anyway, I think I've made my point. Hopefully I'll be prepared. I'll even test out fighting the Destroyer, for example, when I'm all geared up. Because I'm not gonna make you watch failures anymore past this point. And once I'm confident enough, finally, progress. Thank you for watching.